Have you ever met someone whose calmness itself seemed to change the world around them? Someone who walked through storms with quiet eyes. Not because life was easy, but because they had learned how to see differently. This is a story of Sunin, and how his attitude changed everything. In a quiet valley, there lived a young potter named Sunin. His hands were skilled, but his heart was heavy. Every day he complained about the heat, the dust, the customers who paid too little, and even the clay that cracked under his touch. I often sighed, life gives me nothing good. Everything I touch breaks. His old father, who had once been a potter too, would simply smile and say, "Son, the world is not cruel, it only reflects your eyes." But Sunin never understood. One summer, a terrible drought came to the valley. The river dried up, the earth cracked open, and the clay turned hard as stone. Without water, Sunin couldn't make a single pot. He sat outside his hut one evening, staring at the empty riverbed, anger burning inside him. "This land is cursed," he whispered. "Even God has forgotten us." Just then, an old traveler appeared, his eyes as clear as still water. He asked gently, "Young man, could you spare some water for a tired traveler?" Sunin laughed bitterly. "There is no water here. Everything is dry. Everything is gone." The traveler nodded slowly. "Then why do I see green grass beyond the hill?" Sunin frowned. "That's impossible." The old man pointed again. "Sometimes when we stare at the dust, we forget to lift our eyes." Curious, Sunin followed him over the hill, and there, hidden between two rocks, was a small spring flowing quietly. Cool, clear, alive. It had been there all along, just beyond where his complaints had stopped him from looking. The traveler filled his cup and said softly, "Life is like clay, my boy. It becomes what you shape it into. If you fill your heart with bitterness, your hands will shape bitterness too." Sunin stood silent. His father's words echoed in his mind. "The world reflects your eyes." The next morning, he woke before sunrise, fetched water from the spring, and began working again. When a pot cracked, he didn't curse. When the clay resisted, he didn't blame it. Instead, he smiled and said, "I will try again, but this time, more gently." Days passed. His neighbors noticed a change. "Sunin," one asked, "how do you still smile when your pots break?" He replied, "Because every broken pot teaches my hands to be softer." Slowly, his work improved. The clay seemed to respond to his patience. His pots became smoother, stronger, more beautiful than ever. But something even greater changed. The drought was still there. The heat had not disappeared, yet Sunin no longer felt cursed. He began helping others, sharing what he'd learned. He laughed more, complained less, and strangely, the village began to change too. Where there had been tension, there was cooperation. Where there had been frustration, there was hope. One evening, his father sat beside him. "Do you see now, my son?" Sunin nodded gently. "The drought did not change," he said quietly. But and when I changed, the world felt different. Because the world had never been against him. It had only been waiting for him to see clearly. Peace does not begin when life becomes perfect. It begins when your perspective does. The world reflects your eyes. If you carry calmness within, even storms will bow quietly before you. Thanks for watching.